Counselor David G. Romero.
Present.
Counselor Barbara Casey.
Present.
Counselor Vincent Howell.
Present.
Counselor David A. Ulibarri Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We do have a quorum.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Counselor, are you ready? We can do the moment of silence.
A moment of silence for the bad weather that we had and for all our residents, that damage to their houses, that nobody got hurt. Just keep all our residents in your prayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor, I move approval of the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
2 seconds. Roll call.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
Counselor Howell.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey, a second by Counselor Howell and Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
The next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for February 13th work session, February 19th special, and February 20th, 2019.
As amended.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of the minutes for February 13th work session, February 19th special session, February 20th regular meeting with very minor corrections.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Howell.
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Yes.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Ulibarri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Mayor's appointments and reports. Madam Mayor?
I have none at this point.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Next item on the agenda is the mayor's recognitions and proclamations. We have the State Wrestling Championship members for Robertson and West Las Vegas. Madam Mayor and members of the council.
Okay, thank you very much. Daniela, would you please?
I have the certificates of recognition for the New Mexico AA State Wrestling Championship
Thank you very much.
for the Las Vegas Robertson Cardinals, presented to Caleb Medina for placing first. I have Adrian Rivera for placing fourth as an 8th grader.
You know, I want to apologize. Many of our kids couldn't make it. Somewhere at a track meet in Santa Fe, Indian. 2 got jobs right after the season. 3 live out of town and also couldn't make it. So I'm really appreciative that Caleb was here to represent the team.
Well, could you come up, please, and I'll just give you the certificate.
Sure.
That would be very helpful. Thank you very much.
Andres Grano, Michael Yara, Andrew Trujillo,
He's a 3-time state champion.
Mackenzie Ebel, Esteban Marquez.
No, I just wanted to mention that Andrew Trujillo is our 3-time state champion. And I could say about others, but maybe at the end I'll just summarize real quickly.
Esteban Marquez?
Yes. Justin Salazar, Javier Marez, and Michael Garcia.
Okay. No, just I'll turn it over.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody. We did take second in state. We had the honor of Caleb as an 8th grader getting his first state championship, which is quite an honor. We also had Andrew Trujillo, took 3rd in state. We had 2 runner-ups, and Andres Grano and Javier Marez, a number of 3rds and 4ths. So we look forward to next year because we only had 3 seniors. So I just want to thank Caleb for all the work he did.
Thank you very much, parents, of course. The kids could not do it without you, and the coaches involved to the practices, all the work that's involved, the meals, everything. You guys are awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you to the mayor and to the council. Thank you guys
Absolutely.
for
Thank you very
recognizing us.
much. Thank you very much. Would you stand up here? We're going to get you.
Yes.
I have the certificates of recognition for the NMAA State Wrestling Championship for the West Las Vegas Dons, presented to Jared Baca. Tristan Martinez.
Also
also, we have some of the wrestler that couldn't make it, but 1.5 are here, so, but Christian wanted to.
Well, could you come up and I can give you the certificates, Coach? Thank you.
Damian Gutierrez. Jonathan Chavez. Emilio Lopez. Eric Duran. Miguel Martinez. Javier Cordova. Austin Abeta. And Nathan Urioste.
We have everyone just come to the middle here. And,
Good job, Caleb.
hey, Council, would you please stand up? Okay, thank you very much. What an honor, Mr. Thank you for being here today, each and every one of you, and keep up with the work. Continue to remain confident. I'm so proud of you, each and every one of you. Thank you, man.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is public input. The first one is Mr. Marshall Poole on the animal welfare report.
Mr. Poole, how are you this evening?
Good. Madam Mayor, councilors, good evening. This is a report for February. We took in 77 animals. That's nearly 3 animals a day, which is pretty usual. 58 dogs, 17 of them were puppies, 17 cats, including 4 kittens. 70 of the dogs came in unidentified, which is par for the course so far. 90% of the animals are unidentified. We have no idea whose they are. We were able to return 12 of the animals to their owner guardians. 7 of them had IDs, and 5 of those had IDs because the citizens had taken advantage of our low-cost spay-neuter program, which includes an embedded chip so we can track who's the guardian. We trapped 15 feral animals last month, which is half of what we usually do for the feral cats for spay-neuter. Because of the cold and windy weather, we weren't able to trap the 30 a month that we usually do. We transported 48 animals to 5 different agencies for adoption. We had 2 bite holds for the month, and we transported 20 animals owned by citizens to Santa Fe for spay-neuter under our $25 low-cost spay-neuter program. That includes the embedded chip, it includes the rabies shot, it includes any other inoculations that they need. We want to report, too, that 90% or more of the animals that come in hit by a car, dead, are not spayed or neutered. And this tracks nationwide. The figures are 85% nationwide. We're a little bit more than nationwide, but 85% of the animals that get hit by a car and killed are not spayed or neutered, they're intact. The easiest way for a citizen to protect their animal from getting hit by a car is by getting them spayed or neutered, because they'll stay around home far more, even if they get out. And of course, running at large is still a problem with some, but we're reducing it as best we can. There have been 2 foxes up at the United World College area that have been confirmed with rabies. We've been trapping up in that area this month in cooperation with the Department of Health, the New Mexico Department of Health. We've trapped 8 cats this week to get them spayed and neutered. We're trying to reduce the population of just wild feral cats up there because they would be certainly susceptible to rabies if they were exposed. So that's our report. Any questions?
Questions, comments?
Yes. Congratulations.
Yeah, I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Poole.
Thank you for your support.
The next person on public input is Clara Lucero, Community Roundup. Good evening, Ms. Lucero.
Hello, Mayor, councilors. I'm here actually to remind everybody that we're having a community roundup tomorrow at Highlands, and invite everybody to come and check into that. It's very important for the people, kids and whatnot, that all that poison going into the schools and everything that they're spraying. And I'd like to invite you all. I'll give you each a flyer. Also, another thing that I really like to talk about is, I know you all are busy, you have busy lives, families, but every once in a while I would like to see like one of you counselors, wherever your area is, to meet with the people in the community, the constituents, to see what problems or not we have in the community, and meet with us. Let us know what you're doing. We can ask you questions, tell us what we're doing, and that would be really helpful if you could do all of that. And that is my spiel. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lucero. The next one on public input is Mr. Lalo Sanchez. Mr. Sanchez.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Apparently you all aren't getting tired of me coming over because I keep getting the same thing over and over. In January, I had a bill for $161 on my contract, my water contract, for $161. I paid on it, and the following month it came down to $141. And then the following month, or at the end of that month, the bill came back to $161. Instead of subtracting the $20 from the total, they added to it. So I don't know if we have outdated computers that don't know what they're doing, or the people that are handling the computers don't know what they're doing. Apparently we have too many people that are incompetent in too many positions that don't know what they're doing. I went to the city offices or the utilities department last week, I believe it was. I got my bill here that I haven't paid yet. It's for this month, that's due next month. And I haven't paid it yet. And they're charging me the $161 that, like I say, they're charging me $20 instead of, they're adding instead of subtracting. So I went to talk to the people there at customer service, and I talked to 3 different women there. And the 3 of the women didn't know how to explain, or they didn't know why it was that it was being added instead of subtracted. So they ended up sending me to Jody. Jody came out and she said, well, let me break it down for you on your monthly total. And I said, I don't want you to break it down on my monthly bill. I already know what that is. What I want to know is, why is it that you're adding $20 to my water contract instead of subtracting? And she says, oh, I can't explain anything to this man. She said, I can't make him understand. And I'm leaving. So she just turned around and walked out. That's very unprofessional to me as far as that goes. I think that's, like I say, it's very unprofessional. It's very, I get, sorry, excuse me, but I get lost for words because I get very excited over here, and I tend to say things that I don't want to, but we have a lot of incompetent people, like I say, working in a lot of places that they shouldn't be, and I think that needs to be corrected. Another thing that I would like to talk about is the meter. We have that electronic meter. And I think I'm not requesting and I'm not asking, I'm more or less demanding that you change that meter back to the original standard meter. Because apparently that meter, one way or another, last month they were also charging me again that I had another leak. I just replaced the whole thing because the utilities director told me that if I didn't replace the whole thing and if the plumber didn't replace everything or didn't okay it, she wouldn't turn my water back on. And I was without water for 11 days. You already all know that. I've already said that before. So I replaced my whole plumbing. And yet, 2 or 3 months later, I have another leak for 1,800 gallons of water, double of what I usually use. There's still no leak. So I have no idea where these leaks are coming from, whether it's the meter reader, whether he's malfunctioning on his little doodad gadget where he reads the meter. I have no idea what's going on. But I'm already sick and tired of putting up with this, and I'm pretty sure that you're already sick and tired of me coming over every month with the same complaint. I'm already tired of it. And I would like to get this thing corrected. This is already getting to me. I have high blood pressure, and if I end up getting a stroke or a heart attack on account of all the stress that you all are giving me, I am holding you all responsible and the city of Las Vegas for it if I do get a heart attack or a stroke for it. And I want that meter replaced. I am not asking or requesting, I am demanding to get that meter replaced. Another thing is that only God knows when you're going. But it's up to you where you're going. Thou shalt not steal. And that's apparently what's happening over here. For some reason or other, I have the feeling that for some reason or other, you are all either retaliating against me somehow or other.
Hi, Mr. Sanchez, thank you very much.
No, I'm not done yet. My 3 minutes are not up yet.
Your 3 minutes have been up. You have over 4 minutes.
Okay, well, the saga continues. We'll see you next month again. I'm sure that you all, apparently, you're not tired, so we'll see you next month.
Let's continue.
The
Okay.
next item on the, concludes public input. The next item on the agenda is presentations, and we have Ms. Monica Vigil taking Chief Bibb's place, and she will be presenting certificates of appreciation for 4 police personnel.
Great.
Yes, the Las Vegas Police Department would like to present a cert of appreciation to 4 of our personnel for outstanding service and unselfish devotion to the Las Vegas Police Department and to the community of Las Vegas. We have Sergeant Elias Real. Sergeant David Latali. And we also have administrative aide Raylene Lopez and a dispatcher Brandon Graston, but they couldn't be here this
Okay.
evening. But
Gentlemen, first of all, thank you very much for your service. As always, we would be lost without each and every one of you. And you guys, when you're out there, you put your life on the line for us and for each and every constituent out here. We are very, very grateful to you and to your families for all that you do. And if you could please come up and so we can congratulate you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Good job.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
That concludes our presentations for this evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is the city manager's report. I have several items that I'd like to have. I have presentations as well as just a short update for you. But with that, I'll call the Recreation Center, Ms. Sonia Gomez, to update you on the roof repairs. That is one of the last buildings from the city of Las Vegas that will need roof repair for the hail damage that was committed in 2017, I believe.
Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. So we're coming to let you know our roof repair is going to begin
There's a seat behind you. Thank you. Thank you.
April 4th, and they're going to do it in 2 phases. And the first phase is going to be the gym roof repair. So for that, the gym is going to be closed, so are the racquetball courts. So there's not going to be any access to there. But we will have access to the fitness area and the pool and everywhere else. It's just that the gym will be closed. We've talked to Robertson High School, and they're going to loan us the Robertson High School gym for our men's league. So we have a lot of people helping us, accommodating us for all our programs and that. The second phase will start, well, I don't know the date on that quite yet, but it's going to be right after the gym is complete. And that we are going to have to shut down the whole facility. So it's going to be the fitness center, the pool, the whole facility. It's not going to be accessible. We've made accommodations with Carnegie Library. Thank you, Zach and his staff. He's going to hold our after-school program there, house them. And East and West have been contacted for the transportation for our children. And we've contacted ECHO, which they hold commodities every third Thursday of the month. I haven't heard back from them, but we did contact them to let them know that I'm figuring the month of May is when they're going to be repairing in the front, and the facility is going to have to be closed in May. We also have Highlands. I spoke with Max Baca, and he said put an MOU together, and we'll, like what they accommodated us with for the renovation, he said he's willing to work with us again. So we're going to have the fitness, Archuleta Fitness, and the pool. Unfortunately, they don't have racquetball courts open to us, so that's where we're going to be trying to figure out for that. And I think we've gotten a hold of Luna. We haven't heard back from them. We've rescheduled whatever parties had been scheduled for the month of May. And our employees are going to be housed at Rodriguez Park. And let's see, we do have flyers out. I'm working on a PSA to get out by the end of the week. And I'd just like to thank everybody for their help in accommodating us and having patience throughout this construction.
Okay, thank you very much. Questions? Comments?
So now, how long is it going to take to get that roof repaired, more or less?
What they're telling us is that it's going to take 30 to 40 days
Oh, that
each.
long.
Yeah.
For each
And
phase?
That's just kind of, they said they're kind of saying, they're giving us the weather permitting and any obstacles that may happen.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Okay.
Could we ask questions pertaining to
Councilor
just
Romero?
the roof project or other issues? Because I could do it in my councilor report.
They're here, so I think you should ask those regarding the rec center.
Yeah.
It'd be better if you just asked them.
I know I'm not really a concern. I think it's probably been addressed. We all know about it. As far as there was a concern brought to me, and there was an assumption that there was a certain individual, and I just want to let you guys know that there's more than one person that come to us. So I don't know where the word came that this one individual was the one giving me, and there's this individual feels there's a retaliation, and it's not that, there's many other individuals. I could count 7, 8 people that, I run into them and they'll tell me what's going on at the rec. So you wonder why I have concerns. I run into these individuals and, pretty often. But I know you've addressed some of those, and thank you for that. Those concerns about the treadmills, and I think that's being addressed also. So, just let them know, I'm not here to pick on the rec. It's just as elected officials, when they bring those concerns to us, we're going to bring them to you guys, and it's nothing personal, nothing like that. It's, if there's concerns, you're going to ask those questions.
Right.
But thank you.
You're welcome, and I'd like to invite all of you to the rec and, walk with our staff and see how we work on a day-to-day basis. I do have an open door policy, so I let my patrons know, if you have any concerns, please come and let me know, so that way, I could address them right away. I don't turn anybody away, so.
When we're all trying to use all of the machinery, and sometimes, sometimes things can happen, and so if, a lot of times people will let me know, and I do address them. As a matter of fact, George and Sonia were very appreciative of some of the dialogue that we had, and so we're addressing them with the staff. I won't go back to you and tell you how I addressed it, but I do address those. I know Councilor Casey had a phone call into me, that was a great concern for her, and so I try to address those as well, and try to get to all of the issues, because there are issues, and we all just need to work together.
Exactly. And then I think that's the main point, is that,
yes, sir.
You're not going to keep 100% of the people happy. That's a given. But as long as we're doing that, thank you, Madam.
We can try. We can at least try.
Yes.
The roof, what I do want the staff to let those roofers know is that once they get started, they're to be here and try to get our building completed, so that we don't have some of these time lags that we're going into the summer season, and we're looking at a lot of different events. And so one of the things that we're going to do is meet with the contractors and the roofers and let them know that we expect them to be here on a daily basis, possibly even over the weekend. If they can do a lot more of the work, then we can push it forward and get our recreation center back. So we'll be doing that as well.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Sonia. George, thank you so much. The next person is Ms. Wanda Salazar, and she'll be talking about the senior ICIP plan that she has developed since last year, and she is going to be submitting some of the requests. And so can we pass those out? Great. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Mayor,
How are you? It's
council
good to see you.
members. So, what I actually have here is a capital outlay request. Off of the ICIP plan that was submitted back in September, through Area Agency on Aging and Aging and Long-Term Services, a capital outlay request is submitted every year, and it's funded in different than government and so forth. It's funded through a senior program. And so we submit the capital outlay request now in April, and it's got to be based off of our ICIP plan. And so what I've got here is actual projects that I'm actually submitting for. This is really just to inform you. I will be submitting it actually in April. And what I've attached to this is the actual projects, the ICIP that I brought to your attention back in September. And so if you can see for San Miguel Senior Center, the first 2 items, which are priority items, are what I'm requesting for San Miguel, which is vehicles. I'm asking for 3 new vehicles. One of those vehicles will be a duo. It will be a van that will carry 5 passengers, and it also has a hot and a cold box in the back. So for rural areas, I think this is a nice combination, because we can actually deliver meals and pick up seniors on our way back. And so that way we're not sending out 2 vehicles, 2 staff, etc. So I think this is going to be a really good option. And then I'm looking also at another van with ADA capability to include a wheelchair. and transport seniors if needed to longer distances, sometimes shopping to Santa Fe or other types of activities. And then also Jeep for assessments and so forth, more of an administrative, but also transportation if needed a smaller vehicle. So that's what that new vehicle is for San Miguel. And then the kitchen equipment, now that we've opened that center part-time, I'm looking at opening that center full-time probably May 1st. We've done the hood inspection. I've hired the cook necessary for that site. The only thing that's left is the environment department inspection. And once that's complete, we can pretty much open. And so that site was opened a year ago with equipment that we pulled from Vegas and from Pecos. And so the $29,000 that we're looking at is really the conventional ovens. It's looking at the freezer and the cooler, the two-door pool, freezer and cooler. And so the amount there is $29,000. Oh, and an ice machine as well. So that's what we're looking at there. And again, it's the first two priorities there. And then when we went to Las Vegas Senior Center, I'm looking at the first three priorities. Two of these I requested last year in the capital outlay process. The south parking lot and the kitchen plumbing and electrical, the south parking lot and the HVAC system. Those two items were requested last year. When they actually were quoted via an engineer, they estimated about $2.5 million just for those two projects. And so I was shut down just because of the amount and the fact that, is it really, does it make sense to actually invest that kind of money into that building just for those two items? And so what I did is I went back for two more estimates or quotes through engineers, and they came back a little bit lower. We're taking out a little bit of the stuff that we had been looking at. But the HVAC system before was $825,000, and now it's at $315,000. Again, we're just looking at now the HVAC system, not versus, we've been looking at a lot of other things in addition to that. And the south parking lot, we're still looking at leveling it. It had quoted at 1.5 last year, now it's at 1.1 million. And so, again, I'm gonna make an effort. I'm gonna try this, again, with a different estimate, maybe to look at it better. The third item that I'm looking at for the City of Las Vegas Senior Center, the one here in Vegas, is kitchen and plumbing and electrical needs. When the renovation was done, there was an electric box that was already there, but it got maxed out with the renovation. So we have no expansion in electrical needs, with our needs right now, and we have a lot of it. We need a 220. We currently have situations where our steam table is blocking walkways because we only have one 220 plug. And so there's some other issues as well. And then the plumbing, we have a kitchen in there with one drain in the entire kitchen. And so I was giving an example. Pecos is about 1/3 the size of kitchen. It has 7 drains. And so if there's any kind of, water or, that we need to drain out, it helps to have those drains. Also for expansion of the kitchen, if we want to put a steamer in there to cook vegetables, a real handy, piece of equipment, we can't put it in this kitchen. There's no room for expansion. There's no drainage. The only drain is in the middle of the floor. And so $50,000 is what I'm looking for there. And then the final thing that I'm requesting is an HVAC unit upgrade to the Pecos Senior Center. I have been communicating with the Pecos mayor, and so that was their recommendation to do an upgrade on their HVAC unit system there at an amount of $15,000. So again, I'll be putting in this request now in April. This does not guarantee funding. It is, again, like we did last year. All this is I'm putting in a request. Aging and Long-Term Services takes the whole state's senior center's requests, and they siphon through them and decide which ones they want to actually submit to the legislature next year. An example of that is $25,000 that we're going to be getting for kitchen equipment for Pecos this year. that was submitted last year. So again, it's really for your information to let you know what I'm working on, and hopefully we can get some of this funded and help some seniors a little bit more.
Do we have a clean copy of this?
A clean.
I wrote on this.
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah, I think
Yes,
there
we
was
do.
some extra
Yeah.
copies.
Is there a clean copy? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get it. I'll get it. I have a meeting on Friday, so I'd like to present that to you.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Thank you
Does
very
anyone
much.
have
Questions,
questions?
comments?
I have a quick question. The $43,000 that we're getting from capital outlay from the legislature for senior parking,
Yes.
will that be used to help the south parking lot or to finish the other? Okay.
Yeah, so two different parking lots. The 43,000 was requested to assist in funding the north side parking lot. We have already been funded 101,000 for that, but it wasn't enough. And so that'll fix the north parking lot. This will be for the south. And the south side is really looking at leveling it, and then doing a roundabout as well, doing more 45-degree angle parking, paving, striping, more lighting, and a little bit more of the handicap or the sidewalks.
Thank you. I thought that's what it was, but I just wanted to make sure.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Yes.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you, Juan. The next person is Maria Gilbert. She will update you on a couple of things that have been happening. Thank you, Maria.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors, and manager. I'm here today to update the council on a few really exciting things. One, Bradner has completed its substantial completion. The state engineer's office came out and inspected the other day. There are a few minor items, some landscaping that will need to be addressed. We're working on addressing that within city staff before we can start the fill, but it did pass the state engineer's substantial completion inspection. The tower is good, the spillway is good, and we're excited. The next step there will be to implement the state engineer's fill plan. That will be a 180-day plan to fill the reservoir, and then the state engineer is requiring that we leave the reservoir filled for 180 days before we can use it. And that is, again, a state engineer plan. We are working with them to see if there's any way to minimize some of those timeframes, but for the health and safety of the community, the state engineer is going to make absolutely certain that that reservoir is safe for everybody. So we're looking forward to moving into that phase of filling the reservoir. It will involve 180 straight days of about 6 hours per day of inspection that are going to have to be dedicated to specific employees. So I'm currently working on trying to staff those two positions. I can't do it with the existing staff, so we're looking at, we've already been posted for positions, so we're looking at being able to maintain that 6 hours per day, 7 days a week for 180 straight days. Once we can certify that we can do that, then we'll definitely start the fill plan with the state engineer, and I think there's daily reports to the state engineer on the Bradner fill. So we are excited about moving into the next phase. Mayor, 3% I think was the final, with all the change orders, it was a 3%. You asked to keep it under 10%, I believe. We kept it at 3%. So we're very excited. There were some necessary change orders we had to work with, and we were able to keep it at between 2 to 3%. Kevin Site tank is also complete. That is online. We are currently at 4 million gallons in the 5 million gallon tank. So we're continuing to fill it. It has passed substantial completion as well. It won't have its final inspection until it is 100% full. But it is being used. It's at 4 million gallons. So it is online. It's just a slow process to fill it properly, but it is being used by the community. So we are excited that that project is completed as well, which has allowed us to start several projects that we put on hold. Our contractors are moving forward with the replacement of the water line through Hospital Field, the completion of the North Grand Looping project, and the installation of an altitude control valve at Camp Luna, in addition to many other projects that are in planning and design and moving into construction. The last thing that I have for the council is on March 1st, the city received a letter from ZIA informing the city that PRC had approved ZIA's request for a rate change. That is for the cost of gas. City charges our customers, passes on directly the cost of gas increase. So with this letter, we did the calculations, and there will be a rate increase effective actually immediately. That we received the letter on March 1st, and it was to inform us that as of March 1st, our prices were increasing. So those will be passed on to the customer. It's roughly 47-cent increase. Starting April 1st, we'll implement it as of April 1st. It being the summertime, it's going to have very little impact to customers. Overall, if you consider this over the next year, it would still be less than our rates were last year. For the average homeowner, it'll be about $43.55 per month, and that's average. So I'm looking at a winter and a summer rate averaged out, which is still about $2.50 less than we were in 2018. For a summer rate, it's usually only about 1 MCF for most customers, so you're actually looking at about maybe $10 a month, $5 to $10 a month, depending on customer usage. So it being the summertime is probably, it'll definitely be least impactful to our customers, but it is a price change that's being passed directly on to our customers as we received this price increase.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
How is the rate study coming?
The staff have been providing to the engineering firm all of the documents they've requested. They are currently scheduling meetings with managers for, I believe, April 2nd, so they can get some firsthand information from the managers and from each one of the divisions. So it is moving according to schedule. And they'll be meeting with myself, each one of my managers that will be impacted by the rate study, as well as the finance director.
Okay. Question? Comment?
Just one question. Explain how the price is increasing, but you said the overall cost is going to be lower?
Councilor, what I was comparing it to was we actually had a large decrease between 2017 and 2018. We use an average of 5 MCFs per year. That's an average over an entire year for a customer. So again, during the summertime, it's obviously much less. And in 2018, the average homeowner was paying about $46 per month. With the 2019, the one that happened last October, which would impact the fiscal year 2019, it went down from $45.99 to $41.75. With this increase, it is going up, but it will not be as high as it was in 2018.
Any other questions? Councilor Hopper.
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Gilberry, did you say that the Bradner Dam is already filled?
No, Councilor, no.
Okay.
Cabin site is filled. Bradner is completed. We're now starting the next phase, which is the fill plan.
Okay.
Before we can start filling it, there are some things that I have to, first is the landscaping, we have to meet that. Second is to maintain the state engineer's requirement that we perform these piezometers inspections every day for 180 straight days. Right. I don't have the staff to do that. With all their other commitments. So I'm working on making sure I do have the staff to make that commitment before we start the project.
When you get ready to fill, can
Yes,
you
Council.
describe how it's going to be done?
When we start the fill, we will be adding water from the river. If there is plenty of water in the river, we'll be coordinating with the water master. If we need water from Story, we'll pump from Story. Story is more expensive because we have to pump uphill. If there's plenty of water in the river, we would prefer to take it from the river. We will, again, be working with the water master because we will be in agricultural season, so we won't be impacting any of the acequias. We happen to be in a really good place right now with a lot of water coming down the river. So now would be a perfect time. And again, so we'll be filling it in stages at certain levels. The state engineer will be receiving regular reports, and that's to determine if there's any seepage. And then again, once we fill it up after that 180 days, we'll have to let it sit for another 180 days.
And how much will Bradner hold?
That holds a little less than 300 acre feet.
Yeah, okay. Acre feet, that's
Yes.
what I wanted. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Just to add, how it's being filled, we're working with the water masters so to make sure that we're not affecting the acequia
Correct.
owners.
Yes, absolutely. The fill plan actually comes from the state engineer's office, and the water master is part of the state engineer's office, so all the parties will be working together. And if we can't fill it from the river, then we'll divert to filling it from the Story Reservoir or delay.
One more question.
Thank you, Mayor. When, what's your projection on starting Peterson?
Counselor, I've requested from the engineer a task order with the costs and the schedule. I hope to bring that to council within the next 2 months, and then request from council permission to move forward. I will have it in next year's budget for phase 1. Due to the cost of the planning and design, we're looking at about a 3 to 4 year phase for planning and design, barring any funding received, because we do want to make sure that we have a good quality plan before we go to the legislature to ask for funding for construction. So the plan would be to have that to you within the next couple months to move forward with the planning and design from the engineer.
Councilor Olivari.
Mr. Carey, good job. I'm real happy that we're going to start getting that reservoir filled up.
Mulch Constructors is a fantastic contractor. We barely appreciate what they've done. They were amazing.
And then we have a lot of snowpack out there, so.
Yes, we have a very good snowpack and a lot of rainfall.
Yes, ma'am.
I have to cross a flooded bridge every day when I go to and from work, and I'm glad to see it.
I'm anxious to see it when it's filled, and
Yes, Council.
I'm really happy for that.
And I do know I'll be working with the city manager on the actual dedication, thank you, on the actual dedication for Bradner. We did have to delay it due to weather concerns, but we do still want to move forward with that and celebrate this accomplishment for the entire city, for the council, for the mayor, previous mayors. It's a fantastic project, and I'm glad it's over. I'm glad Kevin's site's over. At that portion, this next portion will still be challenging, and it will tax my staff some more. We weren't expecting to be assigned a 6-hour job for 2 people for 180 straight days. So that will be a feat.
Thank you, Maria, for moving the water projects forward. I don't believe there are any other questions.
Just one last one. What training do these individuals need? Is there going to be a training time here?
Well, the current staff there actually are trained already to do this, and what I'll probably have is one of the current staff members going with a new employee out there, and at that point training others to do it. The short version is there's a lot of tubes. There's about 36 tubes that go down into the embankments, and they'll be dropping a line into it to measure where the water levels are and recording those every day. And if you recall, the embankment is pretty steep, and so it is a safety concern, so they'll be cautiously and carefully moving forward with this process. And I intend to have multiple people trained to be able to take that data and also keep an eye on each other and keep each other safe.
I believe it's a 7-day, isn't it? It's going to do it every day for 7 days for 108, total of 100.
Right, there is no break, so I will have to stagger staff to be able to do it, unless somebody wants to work for 180 straight days before they get a day off. And I'm going to guess no. I can hear them now. No.
The knees will be really.
Okay, no further questions? Thank you very much, Maria. Good job.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. We also have some code enforcement information for you, and I'll be putting that in the boxes for you so that we don't tie this up, but we do have some information for from code enforcement. I just wanted to just brief you on just a few things that we're still looking at as well, other than the updates that you just received. We had Las Vegas Day on February 28th. The event was very successful. Entertainment was next to none, very well attended, and so I want to thank each and every one of you because I really appreciate you being there, appreciate the employees. Community Development really did an outstanding job, and so we look forward to next year's. We look forward to even a stronger one. We had some new partners, which was Mora County, Pecos, and then of course San Miguel County took part in it. We also, of course, our normal Luna Community College and New Mexico Highlands University, and so we're going to continue the partnership that we have with them. It just makes things just so much easier and so much more festive with people. So thank each and every one of you. We're also starting to get ready for our summer youth program. We're going to be employing about 50 students, and we'll give that information out as soon as we coordinate with the Workforce Solutions. These summer youth will be going to Workforce Solutions to apply for the position. They'll be taught how to apply. They'll be taught how to do a resume, and then some different trainings, and then they'll come into the city of Las Vegas so that we can utilize them in the departments that will be needing them as well. And so we'll give that information over to you as quickly as we can. There's also talk with the New Mexico Game and Fish regarding training our youth on how to safely drive ATVs, and that would happen at behind Rodriguez Park, if in fact it happens. We have community development looking at some of the regulations and some of the liability insurances that are going to be needed there, and so we're working real closely with New Mexico Game and Fish. We're continuing with our safety trainings. We had some severe wind, snowstorms, thunderstorms, severe water leaks, but our primary focus came out, we focused on the safety of our community first and of course in our employees, and that worked out very well for us. For the wind damage that we had on, the strong winds we had on Wednesday, we were very fortunate. We had the City of Las Vegas crew, we had the New Mexico Transportation, and also San Miguel County that called in, and those three agencies worked very closely together, and PNM was just, they were short of help. They brought in crews from Santa Fe and from Albuquerque, and so that, although a lot of people were inconvenienced, the partnerships have worked very well. The Recreation Department, on top of their roof project, is getting ready for their summer youth programs. Last year we had 150 youth that attended the summer youth program with the Recreation Department. She is getting ready for possibly 200 this year, and so we want to give her the support and we want to give her all of the help that she is needing. You'll be hearing about our 2018 audit. The police department replaced 2 investigator units just not more than 2 or 3 weeks ago, on top of the 2 patrol vehicles we had. And so we're going to continue that as much and try to support them with all of their equipment needs as well. We're continuing to work with the New Mexico Hall of Fame and the film industry, and so we've run into a couple of hiccups, but I'm confident that we can iron them out and get through it and get some more, get other films here in Las Vegas. We're heading into the biggest event of the City of Las Vegas, which is the 4th of July Fiesta. We're really concentrating on that effort. That will be held between July 4th through the 7th of this year. Also, the motorcycle rally group has already contacted us, and that is going to be happening at the end of July 2019. And so we're working with those groups. Little League opening day is scheduled for April 6th at East Las Vegas and April 13th at La Plaza Little League. So the Parks and the Parks Department is going to be getting those parks ready. We did have some damage at Rodriguez Park at our dugouts, our fences, and I believe it was the concession stand roofing, so we're getting all of those numbers ready to submit into the New Mexico Self-Insurance Fund as well. The last thing I had, and then the Easter egg hunt sponsored by the museum and the Friends of the Museum is scheduled for April 13th at Lincoln Park. They're also looking at bringing in a car show, and they will have several truck vendors out there as well. So it's going to be a bigger event than that we've normally had, but that'll be on April 13th as well. And we're going to continue to submit our CDBG application for the Hot Springs Boulevard project. Robert has worked extensively on that. We're still looking at the June 20th deadline, and so we'll be bringing that back to Mayor and Council for your review as well. That concludes my report, unless we have any questions.
Questions, comments?
Thank you. I have a question on the Little League parks. We got $70,000 in the capital outlay package from the legislature. So will that be divided equally among all of them, or will it just be, whatever needs to be fixed will be fixed until the money runs out? Or
you know what? There was 70,000 for a Little League field, and then another 70,000 for parks. That was not submitted by the City of Las Vegas, so we just need to get to the bottom of it and see if it was for one specific park or if it's for several different parks, and I'm not sure. We're trying to get the
We're
actual
working on tracking that.
on tracking down the tracking down just who submitted
Yeah,
it,
we're
and
looking for it. So once we find
so
out.
I'll find that out, and I'll let you know. I'll give you
Okay.
I'll give you an update on it.
And the CDBG grant for Hot Springs Boulevard, is that going to be for new gas lines, new water lines, or what?
All of the utility lines will first be put in place, and then, of course, the paving will take place. But CDBG will not allow us to do any paving or any curb or gutter without the utilities being updated. And so we're coordinated with Maria. We're meeting on that project and making sure that she gets in what she needs to get in as far as the gas and the water lines, and then we'll move forward with the paving.
Okay. Did we request that last year?
We did request it. We didn't have the asset management plan completed or the comprehensive master plan completed. And so what they set our application aside. And so the ICIP plan included the Hot Springs Boulevard, so we're going to go back and see if we can qualify this time. And it looks, our application looks very good. We're just moving on it, and we're working on the asset management plan as we speak. And that's going to really tell us what streets we really need to focus on, and it'll give you a very good quality report for you people to look at.
And so, wasn't there something else that I thought was really bizarre? I'm trying to think. Something about the city not owning Hot Springs Boulevard or something like that?
Yeah, it's, we can't locate the ownership papers, and so what we're going to do is we're going to bring in a surveyor to have that surveyed and determine the ownership of it, so that we have that in place as well. And that was one of the issues last year. And so we're going to contract with a surveyor to come in, survey it, and then do all the necessary paperwork.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And then on the, you mentioned we didn't have a comprehensive master plan?
We didn't.
Isn't that what Mr. Archuleta reported on last month about requesting a loan from New Mexico Finance Authority?
Yes, ma'am.
Have we heard anything on that? Because I think he mentioned that his goal was to make sure that that was in first prior to the deadline, so that we would be number one on their list.
And we were.
Okay.
We were. We submitted our application, and so we're just waiting for word from DFA, from NMFA and DFA, so that we can move forward with the comprehensive master plan.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Okay, thank you.
So we're working on that. And there's so many pieces that go to the project, but we've got different pieces out, and we're looking at completing them by June 20th.
It's like putting together a big puzzle.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Madam, if I could have some questions to that.
Yes, Councilor Romero?
Are we still going to have enough time, because don't we have surveys and public input meetings that we have to conduct in order?
Yes, sir. We did do the surveys, and they did let us utilize the surveys that we did last year. The public input meetings, we may need to have one, although we had 2 last year. We can still have 1, and that isn't a problem to set up the meetings as well. It's getting all of the other different pieces that go to it, our audits, our things of that sort that are really necessary in order to be able to submit.
And refresh my mind, because I spoke to an individual on this. One of the surveys was supposed to include how many residents that area would serve.
Yes.
Or that
That's part of the survey, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I can get them for you. That's not a problem at all. But yes, it does, and they went out. We had, I believe it was Stantec that went out with our personnel and went house to house on the Hot Springs Boulevard project. And so it still looks good. We could get up to a maximum of 750,000, we're hoping. And then Maria has her change aside for the utilities as well. So we're going to be working real closely with the staff so that we can hopefully get it funded this year.
So Councilor Casey had mentioned about the
Comprehensive?
No, about the water lines and all that. So this 700,000, to me, would only cover a portion of that, and then paving would be later.
No, the 750,000 will be dedicated to curb, gutter, and paving. The utility lines will be picked up, the cost will be picked up by utilities.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then we're ready to, we have available funding. If need be, we'll dip into those as well. So we do want to get the project done as quickly as we can.
Any other questions? Mr. Hall?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Gallegos, I have a couple of them concerned. The lights throughout our community, because of the major storm we had, a lot of them are out.
Yes.
And I don't know what our plan is to get them lit again, but can you explain if we have a plan?
We have, as a matter of fact, we've been going, especially Mills Avenue, some of those are down, there's a short somewhere within the Mills Avenue. What we have is we have staff going light to light to see there's a short, and they have to test every light before we can determine where, and I believe Danny, you're here. Can you give us an update on the lighting as well? I know that there's a lot of lights out, and so there is a plan in place.
There's a short on the line, so we have to actually find where it's at, and once we get them, we go ahead and start lighting it up again. Most of them are working right now, so we can fix part of the problem, but there's in the line somewhere, there's one short. So some of the lights that you do see out, you gotta find it where it's at.
And the staff has been going light pole by light pole to test them and see, but it's going to take a little bit of time, sir.
And Mayor and Ms. Gallegos, I think because of the recent incidences with the storm, the power outages, I would really like to see if we can invite P&M leadership here to talk to us and for us to stress our concerns to them. And because we feel, or let me rephrase that, I feel that we're being treated as a third world country when it comes to repairing the outages in good time. They have to come all the way from Santa Fe to come over here, and they have two wonderful personnel here that is trying to address all the issues, but that's not enough. I mean, some operations were out for 5 hours, businesses. So that is very, very concerning. And I would like to see if we can invite the P&M leadership here to talk to us and what their plan is and on how we're going to address this issue.
And I'll be glad to do that, sir. As a matter of fact, there is a person who I can contact, and she has become the spokesperson for this area, so I'm sure we can do that.
Exactly.
I'll be glad to do the invite.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilor Liberty?
No comment.
Okay, thank you very much. No. You did ask this question.
Anything else? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
We will now go into business items. The first item is...
Finance report?
I'm sorry. Oops, I forgot you again.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Finance report, Ms. Canavega. I'm so sorry. She's a staple.
Good evening.
Thank you,
Ms.
Tana.
Jacob. How are you?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'd like to present our revenue and expenditure reports for the month of February, representing aid funds, 67% of our budget. General fund, actual expenditures reported on the cash basis. Revenues collected, $7,908,724. Actual expenses at $7,219,037 for an increase in actual cash balance of $689,687. Enterprise funds, total revenues reported under the accrual method, $10,977,614. Actual expenditures recorded on the cash basis of $9,919,432. Recreation Center, total revenues collected, including the transfer from the general fund in the amount of $392,382. Actual expenditures, $370,405.
Questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms.
Madam
Vega.
Mayor, thank
Did you have a question?
Yes, I have a,
Go ahead.
and I know it's kind of going into maybe personnel, but maybe there's a justification. I know there was some recent reassignments, and the way, I've seen, some of these reassignments. What is the rationale as to, to me, it's affected the budgets in certain departments. There's one where I think at the library there was no position, if I remember correctly, but, an assignment was made there. A couple of the other ones are higher salary than those moved. I'm just, can you sort of, I don't know, how does it affect the budget and what is taken into consideration when those measures are made?
Those assignments, actually, there was a position at the library that was being filled, yes, sir. And so that didn't, I don't believe it affected.
It didn't impact the budget because it had already been, the position at the beginning of the year was budgeted for, it just hadn't been filled.
But there was other positions where, I know, we stopped the budget, but I reviewed, salaries did, to me, it's, it's in the smaller budgets, to me, I think it makes an impact.
Well, within the general fund, all departments have their separate budgets. However, in the general fund, budgets can be moved between departments as needed, which normally happens at the end of the year when I'm trying to do my final budget adjustments to ensure that no budget line item is overexpended, and that's allowed within the fund.
Okay, so I wasn't sure if that's how we were covering.
But I cannot move a budget from the general fund into a utility fund without mayor and council approval and then DFA approval. But within a fund, it can be moved from department to department as needed.
And all the personnel are budgeted for the 2,080 hours, or if it's 2,080 hours, or if it's different with the police department or the fire department, then we budget. And a lot of times, we may have some vacancies during the period, and so rarely do we need to do any type of transfers.
And
so we make sure.
And since we're on the budget again, it's concerning. I know we can fill some positions, especially in departments that are, in desperate need. We get criticized every day about the potholes, things that are beyond our control. And I give tremendous props to those that are they're busting their behinds, working hard. But we can't fill those positions in order to to alleviate some of the pressure. And I know we had asked, or I know I had asked about the possibilities of maybe. If there's 3 positions available, eliminate one. And I think we're going to see maybe even some individuals leaving because city schools, and I believe even the other schools, are starting to increase their starting wages. And that's concerning to the future workforce that that we have. Are you still looking into those possibilities in order to recruit?
We are, and then we're also looking at the legislature as to what they did with because we have to meet that requirement.
We have to meet that.
And so, which I'm happy about, because that's something that we were working on the beginning pace, because there is, I agree with you. I think that we need to entice people to come in, and I think, and then a lot of people will come in, I believe so, with that beginning salary, and I think it's going to be $9.25 an hour starting January 1. Perhaps if mayor and council approved it, maybe we could start at July 1. If the funding sources were there, perhaps we could start it off at that point and get a head start on it, so that we would have something like that.
Just, I think city schools, it came out that they're $10 an hour where they're starting at, so if we could, obviously obviously they're operating without 3-4 employees in the department, you know what I mean? Would it entice if we could have, use some of those funds from one FTE to increase the other ones and start
that's a personnel issue.
And those issues come with the reorg plans, the reorganization plans that come back to mayor and council. So if you feel, I don't think that any of the departments are shorthanded other than Maria, because Maria has those 4 utilities that are so critical. And so I think she's the one that ends up being more shorthanded than the rest. Public facilities and parks, I believe, have funded. Library has funded fully. Recreation, they're going to be having staffing. They're going to be looking at curtailing some of their FTEs for now. And so we work with them. We work with them daily. The firefighters, I believe that those were just filled. So we do, I think Maria is the one that I kind of, but we're going to be looking at the minimum rate and see how we can best accommodate it and meet it.
I have a question on that. How many positions have not been filled in HR?
As of today, there was 22 or 23 that we counted, yes.
Okay.
And the majority of them were in utilities, but she's looking at...
And I recall that you said you had given direction to fill the positions?
We're going to be looking at filling even more positions because of the Bradner Dam project is going to need to get funded.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Vega, I guess May is coming up real soon, and we're supposed to have a budget preparation session. Are we going to be involved in it, the council, in regards to being, apprised of what's happening with the budget?
Yes.
Because last year, what's that?
We discussed that?
Okay. Do you know when? Is that planned already? Or?
Well, I'm currently working on our 2020 budget, and some of the holdup has been waiting to see what the legislature was going to do. I know there was some proposed increases in our para contributions, both for employee and employer, including the retiree health care plan. I haven't heard anything in any increases in insurance premiums. However, I am planning on preparing for that. Additionally, the minimum wage increase.
I was going to ask that.
So kind of the holdup for completing the budgets has been waiting to see where the legislature was going.
Exactly.
Okay. Good. I was going to ask about the minimum wage.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Good.
And we've been monitoring that very carefully. Closed station.
And I'm glad that it's going up. I think that's awesome for our employees' sake. That's badly needed.
Any other questions? Comments? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Ms. Vega.
Thank you.
Good job.
And now we go to business items, and we are going to disapproval of resolution 19-13. Ms. Vega.
Good evening, how are you? Good to see you.
Good evening, Mayor.
If you want to.
It is my pleasure to introduce Jaime Rumbawa from XCM CPAs. His firm performed our financial audit this year, and he will be presenting our audit report to Mayor.
Right. Thank you, Tana. Mayor, Councilor, good evening. Just want to say that, this was our first year to do the audit. Although it wasn't my first year, I did the audit from 2009 to 2014. So I came back after 3 years. But anyway, we would like to thank everyone at the city for making the audit. It went very smoothly is what I'm gonna say. Also, I want to say that this report is already a public record. It was released by the Office of the State Auditor last week. That means anyone can go to their website and download the report. So this is a public record. If you may go to page 120 of the financial statement, just want to give some high-level highlight as far as the results of the audit. 120, page 120, Councilor. So The page 20 is what we call the schedule of finding and question cost. This schedule is required by the single audit, meaning if you spent $750,000 or more of federal funding, you're required to prepare this schedule. This is a very good kind of summary of the result of the audit, and I'll go through with the first, as far as what our opinion on the financial statement. It's called unmodified, but simply put, it's a clean opinion. It's the highest form of opinion you can get. And so the actual opinion is in page 2 to 4. That's where the opinion is. Pretty much what it says is your financial, as a whole, they are materially correct. That's the opinion that we rendered. Also, part of the procedure we did, so we were here probably 3 weeks. I got 3 staff with me here. But after that, we spent probably another week from the office. We look into your controls and other things. Some OSA compliance too, we look into that. And we're glad to report that we didn't have any findings under the year under the audit. I just want to point out, though, that we got some recommendation. It didn't come to our report. The recommendation, they're not to a level that we need to include in the report. It's more of trying to improve. Most of those recommendations were on your IT general controls, and we discussed it during our exit meeting. And we'll follow up again for the next year audit to kind of see where the city is at into that regard. The second section is the federal award. As I mentioned, we did what we call single audit. The city spent almost 1.4 million in federal funding. Majority of that, around 910,000, is for the housing from HUD. So we audited CFDA number 14850, which is the public and Indian housing. That's what we audited. And again, we're glad to report that there's no finding on that audit. If you can go to page 15, I just want to give some highlight on some of the significant change that happened in fiscal year 2018. Page 15. So in fiscal year 2018, there's an accounting standard that took in effect. We call it GASB 75, which relate to post-employment benefit plan. I don't know if you remember back in 2015, that's the first time that the PRA unfunded liability got recorded to the city's book. And what GASB 75 is on the RHCA side, so the retiree healthcare. So in FY18, there's 5 billion unfunded liability. And again, Tana mentioned about increasing the contribution for both RHCA and PRA. So what happened is that 5 billion, it got allocated to all participating agency. So the city got allocated, if you see here, total, what we call net OPEB liability, there's a 9.9 or almost 10 million that was recorded as a liability. And you can see next to it, the net pension liability as it stands as of June 30 is $17 million.
Mention that the city would be responsible for.
That's the portion of the city that's responsible for.
If the para or the retiree health is unable to meet those contributions, the city would be liable to pay them on behalf of the employees.
So again, to us though, this is a GASB, this is the accounting standard requirement. To me, it's more of a paper liability. What that means to the city and employee is increased contribution though. Because if they don't do that, that liability is just going to keep bigger and bigger. When they implemented the standard, I guess the state was saying, oh, we're gonna get it to 80%. For example, the PRAs at some point 80% funded, meaning 20% unfunded, right? And it wasn't really getting better. Keeps the unfunded portion keeps growing up every year. Now the retiree healthcare, that's in a bad it's probably 80% unfunded. That's again, so hopefully with the increased contributions and better economy, that they're going to earn more into those investment, the asset, that liability can go down. Otherwise, that amount will just keep going up, which if you see on your net position, you have negative unrestricted right now, negative 15 million sitting on the books because of those liabilities. Other than that, that's pretty...
Just one question on that.
Yes, Councilor.
Being our auditor, is there anything that this, of course, we're depending on what happens at the state level, but is there any recommendation as to the city maybe putting aside some reserves for that just in case, or, I mean, nothing yet?
There's really nothing you can, you're the city, and I had this discussion with other municipalities too. It's very much you're dependent with what the state gonna do. And you don't, again, we're putting this liability, but this is a liability that you don't really have control with. I mean, you don't even participate how they invest the money, right? PRA or state level kind of decide, okay, we're going to put this money or so, but no one really, I mean, unless you really have a lot of money where you can set aside funding, then that's probably a good idea. But if nothing there, you're not required to do it.
Any other questions?
I have a couple.
Councilor Kissy?
Okay. In doing the audit, there were some findings in previous years on internal controls. I think they were on the physical inventory, the credit cards, and procurement. And all of those are now resolved. Can you tell me what was done to make sure that those were resolved? How were they resolved?
Yes, Councilor. If you go to page 21, 121 of the report. Okay, so that page, we're pretty much showing again, as you mentioned, Councilor, these are the finding in the prior. So we're just giving an update. So these are all resolved. And as far as what we did, I'll go first with the physical inventory. We asked for the evidence of the inventory count that was performed, so that kind of cleared the finding. On the credit card, we tested probably, so as part of the credit card, we test probably 10 transactions. The way how we pick it randomly. So this requirement is more of what do I call it? Compliance. So we would test, cards depending. There's the state auditor doesn't require us to test, 20 or normally the number that we see is 10 to 20, normally 10 to 15. So that's how many sample we test. Again, it's a random. We use a random generator. We didn't pick it. So we get our system pick what samples that we're gonna test, and based on those testing that we have, we didn't find any issues with that. Again, I can't guarantee that there's nothing that there. Audit is always what we call something. We do a risk assessment. Now, because we can't audit 100%, but we focus on high risk areas. That's what audit is. Because if we audit everything, it's gonna be an expensive audit. We would be auditing forever. Now, if the Office of the State Auditor is going to do the audit, that's a different story. I was with them under my team before for another audit. Normally what they would do is test one transaction for each cardholder. So if there are 200 cardholders, they're going to test 200 transactions. And we can't afford to do that for the audit. It's going to be really expensive. The third one, the procurement process, and I'm sure you guys are aware about that. Special audit that was done. So what we did, we picked some probably 5 procurement that happened in FY 18, and we go through whether you followed all the state requirements like competitive seal bidding, you know, all the contracts and those kind of things. If you followed not just the state requirement but your policies as well. And as far as that testing, we didn't find any issues at all. But we have all that, you know, we documented all this to make sure that we followed up onto these findings.
You mentioned the special audit, so you did review the special audit?
Yes, Councilor.
Sure
So the
were...
state auditor requested us to follow up into those.
Okay.
And a lot of, so all that special audit relates to procurement. And procurement is, if you look into the audit as a whole, that procurement is really a small part of our audit. If you look into all these numbers. However, we look into them, we follow that. If I spend over a day or 2 days just talking to people, because there's a lot of things there that are not audit related. For example, changing this or that, or as far as, you know, the qualifications of,
right.
Some people are not, it's not up to us as an auditor to determine their qualification is enough or not. So those, we ignored those. But some of the big ones that related to our audit, we followed up into them. But most of it we followed up. And then what we did is we responded to the OSA, to the State Auditor Office. We wrote a letter. This is what we did. We got all the bullet points that they noted into the report. And this is the status. And I know at this point, at that point, there's still some open things that needs to be done, but not enough for us to like write a findings, because you already got like findings for that through that special audit. But we did follow up.
Okay, and did you do the same for? You mentioned federal programs, but you don't specify. I didn't see any anyway. Maybe I missed them. But federal programs like HUD had an audit done by the HUD staff, and there were some findings that were specific to the business office here. Were those reviewed also?
We look into the report from the HUD, Councilor, and what we did is, so part of our single audit, like the public and Indian housing, we look into them to kind of make sure that we're addressing those things. But yeah, we did look into that.
Okay.
But nothing on the sample that we pulled, we didn't find any issues. So on the single audit we pulled, so again, there are different testing on the for example, public and Indian housing. For example, the way how you house, you know, tenants, like, you know, the waiting list, and so we probably tested more than 10 what we call compliance requirement. Like, for example, whether you're submitting your reports on a timely basis, we look into those, or all the costs that you spend, are those allowable? So that's kind of the significant part into it too. But we spent quite some time, probably a good one week or 1 week of 2 staff looking into those documentation.
Thank you, Mr. Rumbawa. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
Madam Mayor?
Councilor.
I just had one question. This is my first audit, you know, being a city councilor, you know, that I'm going through. But my previous experience, I was a school board member, and I've gone through audits before.
Yes, sir.
And I know, you know, when you started this, you know, the audit this year, well, actually last year, but, you know, one question that I asked, because one thing that I did over there that I hadn't done here, and I don't know, maybe each firm is different, is a disclosure and conflict of interest statement as an elected official. Does your firm not require that, or is that?
That's more of into the So I sign up on public education department audit too, and normally PED would require that. But as far as that one, there's really no requirement for us to do that. But if that's something that the city would prepare, we can do that. But as far as anything that would require us to do that, there's no such requirement.
As a municipality.
But for, again, it's depend on what you operate into. And like, again, like schools, there are different things into, for example, when I was doing PED and we do all the charter schools, we make sure to like, you know, not just those conflict of interest, but also we look into like, are all the teacher licensed, or are all the bus driver, are they do, we also look like drug testing or background checks. So again, case to case, depending on the type of the entity. But as far as
and within this, this conflict of interest disclosure statement, there was also the line, a line in there where the option was, it asked the question, are there any areas of concern that you think might bring attention that we might look into, even though you have the entrance exam, the entrance interview, and that's pretty much where some of that detail is brought up. But not all elected bodies can be there unless a meeting is actually scheduled and all that. But it helps with if I felt there was an area to look into. Of course you have your random your random selections on what you look into. I understand that part, but just it gives me the opportunity as an elected body, if I feel that there might be something to look into, it gives us.
And that's something that we'll be happy to do next year, Councilor. The procedure that normally what we do we would talk to, in this case, we talk to the mayor as far as, again, this on the fraud side, what concerns you, is anything, and again, if there's a preference for us next year to ask everyone, I think we can do that. I don't see that as an issue, but I think that's probably a good.
In the scenario that I was, when I first started, as a school board member, we were under the eye of PED, the whole 9 yards. So there was a lot of scrutiny into what was being done, and I know we're not at that aspect, but I know the entrance interview, at one point, the whole board was involved. The exit interview at one point was involved, and of course, like I said, we don't want to have to schedule a meeting, but maybe having a couple of. I know you have the mayor.
We can probably do an entrance meeting that.
And of course, that's for a decision as the whole council to decide. But I'm just, my experience, and then now, I'm just learning this process on how the municipalities work.
Yeah, we'll be open to that, Councilor. I think maybe the entrance we can do that. Of course, assuming everyone's availability. Same thing as exit though. On the exit meeting though, the issue normally there is trying to be like finding a time, and especially you're dealing with deadline, but the state requirement is as long as there's one from the council that can attend the meeting. But if you guys prefer to be invited into the exit, we'll be happy to accommodate that. We'll just need to work it out.
Then the other question I had, like Councilor Casey asked, if the other audits or reviews that were done, those were taken into consideration. And you had mentioned, on the procurement, you said, you reviewed some of those issues. But I was just wondering, what policies are you looking at? Are you looking at the state, the federal, the internal policies that we have?
So we pretty much look into your procurement policy internal. We your policy is anyway in line with the way how we look into it is, whether you have policy or not, you're required to follow the state statutes. Now, if you adopt a policy, you want to make sure you followed it, or if you adopt a more stringent, higher level, then that's fine. But we look into your both side, make sure that they are in compliance. But as far as what we reviewed five procurement that happened in fiscal year 2018.
Okay, and then, so going back to, each one of us was interviewed. by some, HUD officials out of, regional or DC office. And, just in my interview, there was one thing that was, that they sort of mentioned that they were going to be in contact with you. Were they in contact with you or not?
No, and as a background counselor, that report that HUD is using, I did that procedure, meaning when that report, I did that back in 2012. So I did the review myself. So I'm very familiar with what's happened or what's going on into that. But I know in the past, while I was with a different firm, the Moss, I was in contact with Mandy and what's the name of his?
Floyd Brown?
Yeah, Floyd Duran. And I actually kind of talked to Floyd too, as far as I had some discussion with him. But as far as anything specific into there, nothing, counselor, as far as more specific. We just kind of talk about, things on the housing in general.
Any other questions? Mr. Hall.
Okay. Excuse me. Did you analyze any net-to-debt ratios?
What is it?
Net-to-debt ratio? In regards to if whenever I had a business, when I wanted to get a loan, they always look at my net-to-debt ratio.
Debt service.
Debt service to our net.
We don't really, the only thing that we look at is to make sure that you're allowed to borrow. For example, if you issued debt, is that allowed under New Mexico Constitution or statute, right? If you're making sure that you're not exceeding your limit, we look into that. But as far as all the others normally it's not, we don't normally look into that for like a government agency. But if it's, again, the government agency, you're not here to make money, right? You make sure that you provide. Of course, you want to make sure some services are, at least they can stand on their own though. But the procedure counselor, we always do that on commercial companies because that really matters as far as their ability to pay. But on the city, we make sure that if there's new bond issuance, we make sure that it's approved by the council and it goes through the proper channel. And also we confirm those debt, make sure that they are what you be showing on your financials ties to that you're not hiding any liabilities.
Yeah.
So we do those.
So this, I'm sorry. So this audit tells us that we're pretty solvent.
As far as this audit, I mean, you can see the next position, counselor, as far as how much is your unrestricted on page 15. That's kind of what. Well, the way how I would analyze this is I would back out the GASB, the GASB 75 and the pension and the OPEB. I would back those out to see where you really stand as far as net position. So if we have over 20 million or 25 million there, basically, yeah, you're still positive as of June 30, 2018.
Good. Thank you. And Ms. Vega, thank you very much for doing a great job.
Thank you.
Having this done. You did.
I'd like to say a few words, and I would like to thank the mayor and council, the city manager, Anne Marie Gallegos, the finance department staff, and all of the departments of the city for their support and hard work in contributing to the achievement that this audit report reflects. We faced many hurdles this past year, but we were able to pull together as a team and accomplish something that seemed impossible.
Thank you very much.
And
So,
Just one small one. The acronym OPEB, what is that?
Other post-employment benefit. other post-employment
Okay.
benefit. That's the RHCA, when you retire, that's where your medical kicks in.
I just didn't.
And yeah, I just want to say, I mean, to Tana, when the first time we were doing it, 2009, we probably have like 40 plus findings, 40.
23.
Well, the first year, then it went down to 20. So going to this, that's really a big achievement. So I would, all the credit to your team and everyone involved in getting this clean audit. And trust me, when I was my first few years, I was struggling too, not just you guys. I was struggling too. I mean, it's a lot of things, it affects the auditors too sometimes. So, but having this come back and, have a clean audit, that's
Thank you.
very good.
Councilor Libari?
I just want to thank you, Ms. Legay, your staff, and everybody went through a lot of hurdles with a lot of special audits that, well, we accomplished a lot, so thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Limon?
I just, again, my experience with audits, I know you're in your first year of the contract, the 3-year contract, right, to do the auditing?
Yes.
And, I mean, entities that get 0 findings are very, very, very rare, so, good job, I commend your staff, and, that's the positive. The negative is that to beat this is very hard.
It's going to be hard.
This has never happened,
Yeah.
ever.
So, so that's the reality that we're in, is to all the staff members, it's going to be a lot harder next year to continue the 0 findings, because to me, and people look at findings as to, they're negative, it's bad, you got 5 findings, 6 findings. That's not bad. It keeps staff on their toes, and okay, we all make mistakes, we're human, we make mistakes. So I just, to your staff, it's going to be very hard, and I think you guys could do it, but, it's positive, and keep on your toes, and sometimes they might say, well, those extra audits, well, sometimes those extra audits help with keeping you on your toes, nothing negative, an audit is not negative. You could get 20 findings, but there are things that can be fixed and can be repaired. So it's not bad, to have findings. Of course, if you get the worst rating, and that's a different story, but to have an unqualified opinion and have a few findings, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. So thank you, and again, thank you guys for your work, and thank you for your doing. I think there's extra pressure with the 0 findings, but.
And Mr. Councilor, last year we probably did around maybe 35 audits, the 35 governmental entities that we did. Out of 35, there's probably just 3 out of 35 that didn't have findings. And one of you guys is that. So it's really very unusual too. And then again, you're kind of set to a higher standard, and it's a lot of, you're dealing with a lot of transaction, thousand and thousand, to just make one mistake, but again, I agree, it's not about the finding, it's about what you're gonna do with the findings, right? If you're just gonna ignore it or do something about it. And again, it's about, for us as an auditor, I see it that way, where how we can make an impact to the organization, how we can help you guys get better.
And throughout your contract, you also give, if, certain areas that maybe that, your guidance, do you also include that?
Yeah, we do that.
Thank you, Rich. Well, thank you. I finally got here. First of all, I don't always agree with the council, but I must say that some special audits are negative and unprofessional and are misused for targeted purposes. And that's unacceptable at any level and any municipality. Also, I would like to thank the staff. You must be commended remarkably. I don't know where to start. You have put in a lot of hours to fine-tune everything in this audit. I commend you immensely, Tana, and your staff for diligent hours. Thank you very much for providing such an incredible audit. And I believe also that the highest standard of audit is the unmodified audit. Am I correct?
Yes,
and
Mayor.
No findings. Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much. I know it was a tough review, but the staff got through it, and I am very, very proud of the hard work, dedication, my determination that you all put into this. Thank you very much. Okay, let's move forward. What is the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Casey.
I move approval of Resolution 19-13 for the acceptance of fiscal year 2018 audit report for Section 2-2.210M4 NMAC of the audit rule.
Thank you. Do you have
Second.
roll call?
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Eulabrie Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Eulabrie Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Great job. Great job.
Second item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is approval, disapproval to apply for funding through the Department of Public Safety to reestablish the Region 4 Narcotics Task Force. We have Ms. Monica Villa.
Hello again, Mayor and Council.
Hello.
I'm presenting to you today to approve for funding through the Department of Public Safety. Like was advised, the Las Vegas Police Department respectfully requests permission to apply for funding in the amount of $84,205 from the Department of Public Safety to conduct narcotic operations.
Okay, questions, comments?
I have a question.
Councilor Casey?
Last year, when we had the symposium with the county and other entities, was it 2 years ago?
I think it was 2 years ago.
I think we discussed the reconstituting of the task force. So I think it's a wonderful idea that we're finally getting to do it. The paperwork that accompanies this has as participating agencies and collaborative partnerships, the City of Las Vegas, the Sheriff's Office, San Miguel County Sheriff's Office, Mora County Sheriff's Office, and Highlands University. So will that money be shared with these entities? Or will the money all go to the Las Vegas Police Department and then they establish, or how is that going to work?
No, the region consists of 5 counties: San Miguel County, Colfax, Union, Harding, and Mora. And we want to continue with this funding, right? As a whole, with these other agencies and counties, we want to continue to disrupt the infrastructure of local drug trafficking and illicit drugs that are threatening our communities. It will be shared.
So all the money will be shared?
If I may add, it's actually this dollar amount is $84,205. We were also awarded, I believe San Miguel County was awarded $50,000 from the legislature to get the narcotics program started. This monies will actually be used for a coordinator for the narcotics grant division. And so these funds will be used to hire a coordinator, so that it takes away from having someone oversee it from any one of these local agencies. It'll be to hire a coordinator for the grant itself to encompass all of the five departments.
Okay, so the full $84,000 will be for the hiring of the coordinator?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? It's a pleasure of the board.
Madam Mayor, I move approval to apply for funding through the Department of Public Safety to reestablish the Region 4 Narcotics Task Force.
Thank you.
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Eulabrie Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Romero. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
The third item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is approval, disapproval to apply for funding through the Law Enforcement Protection Fund. And we have Ms. Monica Villa.
Again, the Las Vegas Police Department respectfully requests permission to apply for the funding in the amount of $39,800 from the Department of Finance to send officers to advanced training, purchase equipment, and to pay for NMFA loan for public vehicles.
Questions, comments?
Madam Mayor?
Councilor Casey.
We got $50,000 from the legislature for a police vehicle. So will just part of this money be used, or how is that going to work?
That's a separate award. The 50,000 will be for a separate vehicle for the evidence collection. That'll be used for evidence collection, totally separate from the narcotics grant. There is 50,000 that's listed on San Miguel County, and that's 50,000 for the narcotics grant.
Okay, so then this 39,000 will just be used, split three ways: to pay for training, purchase equipment, and to pay off the loan that we currently have with NMFA.
Yes, to pay off some, and some of these are already, these are set aside funds for police vehicles, and so we'll be finishing up with, I don't know if we're gonna finish up or if we still have a balance, but it will be utilized for, and the total dollar amount is 39,800.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? What's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve, to apply for funding through the Department of Finance for the Law Protection Fund.
Second, do we have a
Second.
roll call?
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Ruble Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Howell, a second by Counselor Yulbury Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Villa. Thank you. Next, we have approval, disapproval of Resolution 1914. Ms. High Achiever.
She can't leave now, it's gonna have to be here forever.
I know, yeah. When you got it, girl.
First time in the history of the city of Las Vegas, imagine that. What an
You
accomplishment.
made history.
You did. First time for me too. If I go out
We don't want to tell you how
tomorrow,
many,
I'll go out
and we don't
with
want to
bang.
tell you how many years it took.
All grades go out on top, right?
Yeah.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, the finance department is seeking approval of resolution 1914 to increase budgeted revenues and expenditures in the amount of $3,997 for overtime salaries in the police department. These funds were received from overtime performed by the police officers for the movies, film duty, and grant that was additional grant monies that was received by the senior center in the amount of $10,165 for raw food purchases.
Questions, comments? Okay, what's the pleasure of the
Madam
board?
Mayor, I move approval of Resolution 19-14 to increase fiscal year 2019 budget revenues and expenditures and transfers to and from various funds within this year's budget.
Second.
Roll call?
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Yulbury Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very
Tana.
much.
The next item on the agenda, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is approval, disapproval of Resolution 19-15 to apply for financial assistance and project approval to NMFA for the purchase of a Class A apparatus fire truck in the amount of $218,677. And we have Mr. Billy Montoya. Good evening.
Good evening again, Madam Mayor, members of council, Madam Manager. So come before you tonight to ask for approval of Resolution 1915. I have a few bullet points to go over. If you recall, during budget hearing last May, we had a discussion that was focused on replacing some aging apparatus. One was a 1997, one was a 1998. They're well over the 20-year mark. So the ones that we are hoping to replace first, of course, is the 1997. They're over the 20-year recommendation by an FPA. We've lucked out so far by maintenance and taking care of them that they lasted this long. So the question arose is how are we going to plan on replacing this and how are we going to pay for it? Back in September of 2018, we applied for a fire protection grant. Luckily, we were awarded $100,000 towards the end of December. Now that $100,000 was specific for replacing the fire apparatus, the 1997 fire apparatus. So we also saved up approximately $88,000 to go towards that. Still maintaining all equipment for staff to maintain safe and efficient level of care that we provide to the community, we were still able to match 88,000 towards it. So, with the 88,000 and the 100,000, we are at 188,000. I discussed with the finance director and the madam manager about what's the next step. Are we eligible for applying for the remaining balance of the loan? Can we do appropriations? We discussed a few different things. So we decided to contact NMFA, talk with them. They confirmed eligibility and said that we shouldn't have a problem applying for a loan. Now with this 100,000, it has to be encumbered by May the 15th, or it has to be repaid back. We don't like giving money back, so hopefully we can get it encumbered and squared away. The loan would be for $218,677 at an interest rate of 0.10% on the first 150,000. How
much percent?
0.10 on the first 150, and the remaining balance will be at market value. The term of the loan would be 10 years, paid off and sooner depending on financial accruals in the future. Like I mentioned a little while ago, we did contact State Fire. The loan is through them, and they have given permission to authorize future fire funds for the annual payment of this. So it'll be an intercept at the beginning of the year, or however they discussed to do the intercept with NMFA. So State Fire already approved that portion of it. Several vendors were contacted and given the opportunity to provide a quote on the specs that we have for the equipment. And the one that you have in front of you, Ferrara came in at the lowest with the most options. The other vendors couldn't come close to it. It was almost like a $40,000 difference. So, with that being said, warranties, several warranties are included on it, and the specific internal parts, you'll probably see towards the last page of your packet. 2-year bumper to bumper, and we do have the option to extend it if we like. Should approval be granted to move forward with this loan application, we would draft up contracts and move forward with the application process to New Mexico Finance Authority. I also want to inform Mayor and Council that this replacement is on the ICIP plan. And the other thing I wanted to inform you guys, I'm sure you're well aware that we may get some legislative appropriations. That would be the next plan for the 1998 fire truck. With that, I'll entertain any questions you might have.
Very good. Questions, comments?
Just have a comment. Yeah. First of all, I really think that this is necessary, and there is some public interest out there because I've received some emails from people saying, well, all you need is another fire truck. They have a 20-year life expectancy, and I said, these are older than 20 years.
Sure.
They're kaput.
Yeah.
We need new ones.
They just look good.
Yeah, they look good because they're well taken care of, but we really do need to replace them. And it's a matter of public safety and also the safety of our firemen.
Most definitely, ma'am.
Yeah, and I want to thank you, Chief, because I think it is because of your diligent lobbying the legislature that we are getting that $674,465 to buy a new truck with all the bells and whistles.
I appreciate that.
And I think you should be commended for that. I did speak to some of the legislators, and I know that you spent time in Santa Fe. You talked to a lot of people.
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to thank you for taking the time to do that.
Thank you. Appreciate
And
it.
I hope that, I don't know of any governor except maybe one that I served with that actually vetoed a capital outlay. But I don't foresee that happening this time, so I'm looking forward to having you have that new truck because you've been asking for it for quite a long time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. I also want to state, thank you, Billy. You've done an outstanding job for the city, but I also want to thank everyone who was involved in the preparation of that request and everyone who was involved in actually talking to the legislators, including your city manager. I know that a couple of our elected officials here
Definitely a team
did
effort.
go up there talked to him as well, and we hand delivered a lot of stuff to them. So we're very, very fortunate to have you there, and we're also fortunate to have everyone who participated in making this successful, and I'm pretty sure we're going to be granted that. Do we have a second? Or question?
We don't
Do I
have a
second?
motion.
You had a motion? Did you make a motion?
No.
I thought you made a motion. Okay.
I'll make a motion.
We'll
Yeah,
make a
move that
motion.
we approve of the, I can read it, Resolution 1915 to apply for financial assistance and project approval to NMFA for the purchase of a Class A apparatus fire truck in the amount of $218,677.
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Yulbury Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Howell and Counselor Yulbury Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is approval, disapproval for addendum to contractual agreement for inmate confinement with the Las Vegas Police Department and San Miguel County Detention Center. This is an addendum for, Chief Bibb is not here, he was going to present, but this is the fourth year extension agreement with San Miguel County Detention Center. Chief Bibb did meet with municipal court to discuss the agreement itself. They will be going back out for a proposal next year. I believe there's some issues that may need to be discussed. However, this is the fourth year of the four-year contract.
And this is for $80 a day for confinement?
Yes, ma'am.
Who's going to discuss this? You did? You presented.
Sure, you did,
Okay,
yeah.
you presented. Okay, questions, comments?
sorry.
I was waiting for this lady over here, okay. Questions, comments? Nope, okay, it's a pleasure to work. Counselor Casey.
Madam Mayor, I move approval of the agreement for the inmate confinement with the Las Vegas Police Department and San Miguel County Detention Center.
Do you have a second? Second. Roll call.
Second.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Yulbury Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Howell and Counselor Yulbury Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The next item is approval, disapproval of the Las Vegas Police Officers Association Fraternal Order Police Las Vegas Lodge number 20 agreement. We have Caleb, we have Elias, we have Tana Vega and Maria Gilberry that will discuss the FOP contract and agreement. And it's a pleasure to bring this to Mayor and Council.
We made it.
Yes, we finally, yes, we did. Very happy for, I think we should all be very happy and excited for these young gentlemen, and so thank each and every one of you for all your diligent work.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, Council, I just wanted to thank City Manager and City Attorney also for coming in and helping us. We did extend almost to the full year negotiations, and that ended up going into a mediation where we were able to resolve and all come to an agreement. Just want to thank the city side for entertaining our offers and the hard work that it was to come together and come to an agreement for what we're offered and accepted.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments? Councilor Romero.
Just one question and comment also. I asked Madam Mayor earlier as to, if we bring in an individual to actually do the negotiations, she said no, that the team has done it. So that's an important part in dealing with negotiations, because when you bring in, somebody that's, anti-union, strong-fisted, that's tough, and it creates, I've seen it, I've personally seen it where it creates problems, and you guys didn't go through that, of course, it wasn't all roses, you know what I mean, and there was some issues that you guys finally, came to an agreement, and it took a while. The good thing is you guys just didn't settle this year, you settled for next year, which is positive, because you don't have to go through, finish this one and start again. So that's positive, and, of course, sometimes me personally, police officers, what you guys go through, what your families go through while you guys are, on the streets, on patrol, what we pay, and I think every community is doing this, isn't, we could afford a lot more, I'm sure we would, but it's tough, being on this side, because we know there's budgets to operate within, and it's tough. But thank you for all the hard work, everybody that was involved in the negotiations. I've heard stories and negotiations and, almost fist fights, the whole 9 yards, and I don't know if it went to that extent, but, it seems like you guys...
Maria, you and Tony would have won.
That's the process, and you guys handled it, I think, with some professionalism, and maybe there was some frustrations, and I know, Chief Bibb, he's out for you guys. He's there to protect you guys. That's one thing that, the leadership that he has brought, I think, has, not that any other chief hasn't done it, but, acknowledgements of, that means a lot. The bonding that's happening is to me, it's amazing to watch, and I'm glad that, things are finally, settling down. Of course, the uncertainty with leadership there for a while was, I think, going through, you guys going through a lot of stress, but that's taken care of, and now we took care of this, and now you guys can focus on your jobs and get things going and continue to protect and serve our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions?
I have a comment.
Please.
I'm very, very happy to see this, because I was starting to get just as stressed as you were, I think, because it wasn't finished. I'm very happy about the addition of lieutenants to be able to participate in the collective bargaining agreement process also. I'm happy with the 50-cent increase. I wish it could be a whole lot more, because I think we deserve a whole lot more. And the other thing that I'm really excited about was the incentive pay for speaking, understanding, and being able to translate fluently a second language other than English. I think that is just so wonderful that you will be paid for that. And the language says offer must be certified or receive a valid endorsement, city approved to the fluency of their second language. I'm certified to certify, so just so you know. So send them to my house and we'll eat lunch and talk in Spanish. But congratulations on getting it done, and I'm glad that everything worked out. It did take a very long time, but I'm very relieved that it's done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may add, we're just real proud of the staff and the staff who negotiated the FOP membership. They were very professional. Disagreed, but we went away disagreeing and vowed to come back and agree, try to work things out. And so I thank these gentlemen, because they're true gentlemen, in my opinion. And so we need to be proud of them. And thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor.
Thank you, Mayor. Long time waiting, huh?
Yes, sir.
Congratulations for getting this done. I've been hearing a lot of good things about the PD, so keep it up, and you guys are really working together and protecting our community, so I really appreciate that. And negotiations in these contracts, boy, like they said, boy, it's very difficult, and you guys made it through, so I'm just hoping that everyone agrees with it, the whole police department, and you'll have some that don't, but hey, majority, I think, has done that. So.
And to add to that, Councilor, I did speak to the entire membership of our union, and we had no one oppose.
Oh, that's great.
So everybody was in favor for the resolution.
Good. You guys keep up the good work. Thank you.
Councilor.
Thank you guys. It's been a long time for you guys to do that. It's very unfortunate you guys have a good chief of police and the work you guys work together. Thank you for everything you do for the community.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
So, thank you, Roger. So many wonderful things are happening under the new chief and the deputy. And I have seen the change in each and every one of you. I have seen the positive growth in each and every one of you. And it makes me so proud to see each and every one of you becoming the wonderful, young police officers that you are. And someday you're going to be the chief and the deputy chief. And you're going to learn so much at this level now that you'll be able to handle just about anything as you get older and climb the ranks. So a lot of positive accomplishments, a lot of positive changes. Thank you so much for working with us. And then, as Councilor Casey mentioned here, the dual language issue. That is wonderful because that is who we are. That is part of our culture. We are Hispanics and we should be very proud of that. Not everybody can speak a second language fluently or speak it at all. And you have so many elderly individuals that you have to go to their homes, pick them up, or you have to talk to them or address their concerns. And if you don't speak that language, it's going to be very difficult. So thank you for all that you do. We are so in awe of each and every one of you. Keep up the great work. And I don't know how else to commend you. And let's just vote and let's see how we do. Okay,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for all the support that the council has shown to the police department.
Thank you so much. It is a pleasure to work.
Madam Mayor,
Councilor,
make a motion
ready?
to approve of the City Police Office Association Federal Police FOB Las Vegas Lodge 20 Agreement.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Howell?
Yes.
Councilor Yulubri Jr.?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Yulubri Jr. and a second by Councilor Casey. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Good job.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Item number 8 is to conduct a public hearing and approval, disapproval to adopt ordinance number 19-01 for the 2019 edition of the official zoning map. And we have Maria Perea and Virginia Marujo.
Good evening, ladies. How are you?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council.
Awesome.
So this evening, we're here to do the it's been a long week. Conduct the public hearing for approval and disapproval of the ordinance of 1901.
Thank you very much. I need a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call.
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Howell?
Yes.
Councilor Yulubri Jr.?
Yes.
Councilor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Councilor Casey and a second by Councilor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Okay, we need to swear in. Esther, could you please do this reading?
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the evidence that you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Thank you very much. Ladies, continue.
Okay, tonight we're presenting ordinance number 1901 for approval or disapproval of all the changes that have been done in the last few years that have been added to our zoning map. All of this have been approved from council, and now they've been added to the map, and we just have to go and do it formally and adopt the map, the 2019 edition of the zoning map, official zoning map. And that's what it is. And I have presented everything that we've done in the last few years that has been added to the map, except for 2 zone changes that you guys approved previous. One was because it was reversed, and the other one is still in litigation, as far as I know.
Was it reversed or was it because of default?
It was reversed, because there was the one for 2513 Hot Springs, there was an appeal to district court, and district court reversed the decision, the zone change. So now it's back to an R2. And then we have another appeal for 338 Santana, which was the last zone change that you guys approved. There's another appeal that's still in litigation in district court, as far as I know.
And what is the status of the Hot Springs reversal?
There was a default on, basically a default.
Exactly.
So it was, the decision of the city council was reversed.
Okay. But we're moving forward.
We are
Yes.
moving forward. There is an issue before planning and zoning next week.
Good.
On Monday, yeah, we're taking it back to planning and zoning, and then to city council again, and hopefully nothing else will.
As long as it goes through.
This time we're going to have an attorney on board, so we're good.
Yes, exactly.
And that was the issue, is that we just didn't have an attorney to represent at the last one.
Okay, questions, comments? Want to hold them till later?
Oh.
Okay. I need a motion to accept the record proper.
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept the record proper.
Good, do you have a second? Roll call?
Counselor Yulabri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. I need a motion to close and reconvene into regular session.
Madam Mayor, I move that we close the public hearing and reconvene into regular session of the council.
Second.
Roll call?
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Yulabri Jr.?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
We are now in regular session. Do you have any questions? Counselor DeMento.
One question is, how often are we supposed to have this
This
updated?
map should be set up about every 1 or 2 years, depending on how many zone changes you have. And I had, since 2012, I prepared the documents for 2 previous directors and never got, and when Renee Garcia came in, she told me to go ahead and start preparing everything. And so I finally got it all up to date from October 2017 on, and as far as I could.
Okay, so it's every 5, I was thinking maybe every 10 years, and that's why.
No, we usually do it like every 2 years, depending on how much. If there's a lot of zone changes, we'll do it every year. But like I said, I prepared it in 2015 for one director, all the documents up to then. And then in 2017, mid-2017, I prepared for somebody else. And these people are no longer here. And I found all the documentation when they moved a previous employee's paperwork, and so I could go start sorting through, store it. I found all the paperwork. It had never been presented, and I was not allowed to do any presentations until Renee Garcia came in like October, November of 2017, and then I started working on it again, but just...
Takes a lot of time and work, thank you.
It's just a lot of work.
Thank you for your hard work, Maria, and Virginia, you're outstanding. I know how hard you work, Maria. We do appreciate all the hard work that you put into everything that you do. I know how methodical and meticulous you are about your work, so we're very grateful to have you. Any other questions? Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Mayor, I move that all zone changes that have been approved in the past, for lack of mentioning all of them, because there's so many, starting all the way back to 2011, 2012, and so on, that are listed in our exhibits this evening be added to the official zoning map.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Romero?
Yes.
Counselor Yulabri Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Casey and a second by Counselor Yulabri Jr. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Counselor's report.
Thank you, ladies.
Counselor Romero.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Madam Mayor, if I could just collect my thoughts and start, you can start.
Okay, I would advise you that anything that's already been discussed, to move on with what hasn't been discussed. So we don't. Okay, Counselor Casey.
Okay, I just wanted to go over the capital outlay expenditures that we're getting from the legislature. As I mentioned earlier, the $674,465 for the fire truck, $70,000 for the E. Romero Fire Museum, $70,000 for the Guyanas River Park improvements, $70,000 for Little League Park improvements, $70,000 for general parks improvements, $50,000 for a police department vehicle, $43,000 for the senior center parking lot, $652,214 for street paving. Smile back there. Yeah. And drainage, $400,000 for water system and main replacement, for a total of $2,099,679. I know that our request totaled over $13 million, and so this is a little bit disappointing because I was hoping that we would get more money. But what happens in the legislature when you have a lot of money that's available, it becomes into a giant feeding frenzy, and everybody wants everything. And so I'm sure that our local legislators had a difficult time trying to cull through all the applications that they got, not only from this county, but from the other counties that they represent. And I think that considering that these were some of our top priorities on the ICIP, I think that we did not too bad. So that's one thing. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was I'm very concerned that we have not brought back our city clerk. We voted to retain her back in January, and she is still on paid administrative leave. I believe that that is a violation of charter, and I believe that we need to bring her back. This council voted to retain her as city clerk, and I looked at the personnel ordinances and everything that I could find, the charter, municipal code, and the issue is not really addressed in there, but it does say Chapter 66, 10B of the city ordinances of the personnel rules dealing with the city managers.
Councilor Casey, that is a personnel matter, and let me advise you before you continue that you were advised in executive session about the rules. But continue.
Thank you. The rule reads, personnel rule reads in part, the city manager has and retains all rights to administer the affairs of the city, including but not limited to the exclusive rights to, and this is part B, hire, promote, demote, reclassify, transfer, retire, reassign, assign, lay off, and recall employees to work. And so I would like to personally request that the city manager, because she has the authority to do so, recall our city clerk to come back to work, being that she has already been retained by this council, and that she return to work as soon as possible.
The appointment is made by the mayor and not the city manager. That appointment is solely made by the mayor, confirmed by the council. If you choose to keep her, then that is within your, you can keep her on paid administrative leave, and we have discussed this. I'm not going to go and discuss this any further, because all of this was discussed in executive session, and it is a personnel matter. Okay.
And I believe that you are violating the charter, which is not the first time, and I believe that that pretty much constitutes malfeasance in office.
Well,
and
you are incorrect with your assumptions, as you have been with a lot of your assumptions, Councilor Casey. I have written those assumptions and reported them to the Attorney General's office, as you have, and accused this administration of many other things. And again, you have been proven wrong in every single occasion. And I believe also that all the allegations against this administration should be posted publicly so that people know what the actual responses have been. Thank you very much, Councilor Casey. Let's continue. Councilor Howell.
Thank you, Mayor. With respect, Mayor, I would like to ask a legal opinion from the city attorney.
She gave you a legal opinion, but I don't know, shall we discuss this?
No.
I prefer to discuss this in executive session.
Exactly, it is executive session.
Hold on, please. That's not what I was going to ask. My question to the city attorney is, can you give me your legal opinion on the disciplinary actions of an appointed employee, in other words, the 4 appointees? Does the discipline action have to be approved by the council?
Mayor, council, it's difficult to try to answer this hypothetical knowing full well that it involves the city clerk. I prefer to make my opinion known to the council in executive session.
Okay, so therefore I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
Okay. Actually, we're not at executive session yet. We're doing council's reports. So,
Well, if councilors' reports, we can make a motion.
Well, once we get to executive session, make the motion. It's not the problem. Okay, Councilor Casey, you gave your councilor report. Councilor Romero, have you?
I'm not done yet,
Or you want me to
Mayor.
conduct it? Okay, so then the floor's to you, councilor's reports.
I'm not finished yet.
Mhm.
Also, I'd like to have a legal opinion on the executive powers of our mayor in regards to the veto power.
I don't have veto power.
Okay. I just wanted to get a legal opinion on that.
Mhm. And actually, I just provided another legal opinion with some other questions to the Attorney General's office regarding another allegation from another counselor, and I think it's clearly addressed, and I'm sure we can probably provide that to you. Okay. Counselor, you ready, Counselor?
Yes, back to potholes. Chris, I got a question for you. How do you work on your potholes? Do you just fill them up, or you square them off and fill them up, or?
We clean them all off, and then we catch them, and then we put hot mix on. We started yesterday. We were lucky the hub gun was running, so we started on hot mix catching yesterday. And this coming week, it's supposed to be in the 70s, so we're going to get after it.
Okay. And the sweeper, is the old sweeper working?
The sweeper will be back tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow we'll be transported back.
Okay.
That's because I only want to do this.
I just want to thank all the employees, all the city employees, our people that went out to lobby up in the state legislature for everything that they did for us, for the city, all the money that they gave us and everything. Thank you. Thank all the staff and everything.
Okay, before we go into executive, I gave the council, oh, I'm sorry. Jumped too soon, go ahead.
I'm going to go back with, of course, streets. As you know, that's the talk of the town, the potholes and deterioration of the roads. And I think the important part, if you could give this information to us, is a plan. A plan as to, and I don't know if this would be done by you or how, but let's say on certain days we're going to be in certain areas, so that way that information is sent out to the community so they understand. Of course, not everybody drives through certain areas, so they don't think anything's happening. But if we put out some type of plan that said, on Mondays, we're going to be in this section of town, Tuesdays, we're going to be in this part of town, so they know that, you guys are out there. I think it bothers me a lot that they say, you guys aren't doing anything, and it's tough, because like I said earlier, to me, I think you're short-staffed, and it's hard for the, I even know you have your street sweeper helping out, but, that's, you guys are doing that, but it's not enough because of the condition of the roads. So I think if we put out a plan, so the public's aware as to what's happening, and just keep them, I don't know, the Optic could help us out, put that out in the newspaper, that would help a lot to, just the misinformation that's happening, that we're not doing anything in this. And I think ever since the pothole started with the snow and everything, I think if you remember, I've been asking the questions about the potholes. Councilor Yulabree's asking we're all asking those questions, and they're saying, well, the council and they're not doing anything. Well, we can only do so much, and we give the city managers follows through and gets that done. But if we could just put that out there so they know what's happening, a plan, an actual plan that's developed and said this is what we're doing. The other part, Las Vegas night, the event itself was wonderful. Thank you for putting it on. The amount of people that were there, in my opinion, was was great. Do we have anything as to the amount of legislators that signed in? And the reason why I ask is I ran into a legislator that I happen to know. I was sort of surprised he was there. I know him being a former school board member, Representative Chatfield. And, but I know our local was, we did get those, but I'm just curious, there was some that I'm sure that I didn't know. Do we have a number as to how many actually attended? Do we have that information, or?
Yes, we do, and we're actually still gathering all that data, so in the next meeting, we'll do a full presentation on exactly what senators and representatives, and of course, governor and
I was surprised, two of them, and I don't say this in a negative way, but the two that I noticed there, right off the bat, surprised, there were two Republicans, and, San Miguel County, we're a Democratic county, and it was sort of surprising, and in talking to one of the individuals, I don't know if you guys knew, but Senator Pearl actually lives here during the session in Las Vegas. It was like, wow, okay,
Yes.
That's another contact that, that could help us out, and that was a surprise to me. So, those are, a few that I did notice. I was so surprised the others didn't show up, but, that's what I just wanted to see. The whole intention of Las Vegas Night is to get those legislators out to it, and not really like I said, the event was awesome. The music, the food, everything was awesome. That, to me, 5 stars. But the focus was, to get those individuals to help us out. And I think we all did it privately, our lobbying, Chief Montoya knows, but I don't know, the amount of money that's spent on that, did we get our return? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then just one last thing that you should know too. We had quite a few RSVPs. Some of them didn't make it because they did get stuck on the floor that night as part of the reason we didn't have as many as to the amount that did RSVP. I will get you.
Okay, thank you. And then I had another one, but we'll discuss that, I guess, personnel.
Thank you very much. Okay, my turn. With regards to the response of was it 13 or was it 10 million that we submitted to the legislators?
It was 13, I believe, was
13?
submitted,
Okay.
yes.
I'm not at all disappointed. I think 2.2 or close to that now is actually very good. I just received, as a matter of fact, a message from Senator P. Campos, and he says that the New Mexico road fund has not been finalized at this point in time. And with that, New Mexico DOT uses a formula to calculate the actual percentage that will be coming to each local entity. So we're still not done. I think there's still hope. We submitted, I believe, in the road fund 4 million or 4.2 mil.
Yes, ma'am.
Was my
4.2.
Yeah. So if we submitted the 4.2 mil and we are hopefully close to that, and I was hoping if we could get 5 million, but if we can't, and we close to that, I believe we met our mark. And that's a good number for the city of Las Vegas. So once that comes in, I'm sure he'll notify me and you. And thank you very much. Now, also on another note, I had sent out a memo to the council regarding a February 25th memorandum regarding certain procedures. And I received a response from Councilor Casey, and let me pass out the responses. Could you get those to me?
My response is to be confidential.
No,
Madam
it's an
Mayor.
open memo, so there's nothing confidential about it, and the council has to know exactly
Okay,
what's going on.
that's fine.
Okay, now, I also provided a response to your questions, because there's some misunderstanding as to what the memorandum entailed. I reviewed your response to my memo, dated on that day of February 25th, as addressed. In Councilor Casey's response, a quote on page 1 of your memo is from section 16402 of the Rules of Professional Conduct. That is clearly stated in the first memorandum of the 25th. As to Councilor Casey's discussion of contemporaneous notes versus extemporaneous notes, I certainly did mean contemporaneous notes. This is exactly what has been widely discussed in the James Comey situation, because Comey created notes made contemporaneously with his meetings with Trump. His notes became important pieces of evidence. I am definitely not referring to extemporaneous notes. Another criticism by Councilor Casey is that the rules of procedure for the governing body are contradictory to what is stated in page 1 of my memorandum. I personally do not see any contradiction. So I hope this helps you, Councilor Casey, and also the council in terms of understanding or any misunderstanding of my memorandum that you have to this matter. Councilor Howell, would you pass this one? Thank you very much. Councilor Casey. And Councilor. Okay, now we need a motion to go into executive session.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel matters as permitted by section 1015(1) H2 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978.
Do I have a second?
Councilor Romero?
Yes.
Councilor Yulhobury Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Howell and a second by Counselor Casey.
Thank you very much. Let's continue to executive session. Thank you very much.